Okay. Alex is going to start a recording. We're not starting just yet.
Okay. I was like, all right, I'm ready if you are, but wow. That's
No, he likes to start it to make sure we don't forget to start it. And the way it's already is running. I'm going to do a quick intro to the podcast and introduce you, and we'll kind of go over the questions. And then at the end, if you'll just stay on for a minute, because it's kind of uploading. It's got to finish uploading when we're done.
Yeah, sure. While it's uploading, it's good. I have an unrelated question to ask about Alex. Is he a full-time employee of yours?
Yes.
Okay, so because we have a couple of podcasts, and we were thinking how great it would be if we had the opportunity to have somebody help us edit them. Let me turn off my calendar. But it sounds like maybe he can suggest someone.
Yeah, I don't know if you know anybody, Alex, or not. A couple people. Gotcha.
That just matter.
Gotcha. Yeah, he also helps with our website and a bunch of other marketing related tasks.
Oh, so he's not just your podcast guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, wow, that's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot. Don't get me wrong, the podcast is a lot. Everybody's got a lot of stuff to do.
There's a lot of editing. There's a lot of listening and re-listening.
Sorry.
I bet.
I like every time I hear my clicking on the table, I'm like,
that's not...
I was like, I'll keep my arms off the table then. I know, I'm trying to be more conscious about it since you said something. So, all right. So, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Moss?
Mossy.
Mossy.
Like a mossy rock.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure I got that right. Let me turn this off because otherwise it'll keep buzzing. Is it your do not disturb still on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to actually turn my phone off too.
Yeah. I know. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
ding.
I turn off the ding noise, and it's always something. We'll figure it out.
Gotcha. All right. Ready? Here we go. Okay. Hey guys, this is Karalynn and welcome back to the Quit Getting Screwed podcast, where we talk about all the ways not to get screwed in the construction industry. And today I have a very special guest, Erika Mosse, who is the director of content at Pro Remodeler. And I actually met Erika as a speaker that she was on before me at the Job Trade Connect convention in January. Good morning, Erika. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
All right. So you're the director of content for Pro Remodeler. You're an outspoken spokesperson for women in construction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this role.
So before I was working as a journalist in the remodeling field, I was working as a journalist in the swimming pool and hot tub industry. I worked for a B2B company that at that time was called Hanley Wood. And I was working with a guy named Sal Alfano. He worked on their remodeling brand. And Sal is like a legend in the remodeling industry. And he's a former remodeler, incredible journalist, incredible just mentor to many industry members. And I always thought, like, how awesome would it be to work more closely with Sal? But I was in swimming pools, he was in remodeling, and we were just kind of friendly colleagues. And then there was an opportunity that came up with SGC, which is the parent company that owns Pro Remodeler. And Sal was over there by that time, and he reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to come work with me on Pro Remodeler? And I just jumped at the chance to work with him. He is subsequently retired, but I will tell you that he sits on the city council of Montpelier, Vermont, which is like the kind of guy he is. Like, that's what he does with his retirement. You know, how awesome is that?
That's awesome. So tell me like more about what kind of content do you produce for Pro Remodeler and what are people interested in?
So we are a media brand that serves the remodeling industry nationwide. And so remodeling, there are many different buckets of remodeling, but there are kind of two major remodeling buckets. And the first one would be like a full service company. So they would rip out your kitchen and give you a new kitchen, or they would build an addition onto your house. And then the other type is what we can call replacement contracting or home improvement. And they are going to replace your windows. They're going to give you a new roof. They're going to replace your doors. They might replace the siding on your house. So those two different types of companies, full service and replacement, have two very different go-to-market strategies. And we serve both. We serve them with events. We have conferences that we do that are really cool and wonderful. We have a print product. We have a really robust website. We have different types of educational initiatives that we offer. We have an event coming up this fall, actually, if I can just give a brief little plug for our
Yeah,
fall
absolutely.
events. So we have one called the Pinnacle Experience, which is from September 11th through the 13th in Philadelphia. And that is going to be targeting both the full service remodelers and the home improvement folks, the replacement folks. And it's going to be about data and about processes and systems and how to handle growth and how to look at technology, a lot of technology providers. It's just this really great, like, one-stop shop for all aspects of the industry. Really fun, exciting, lively event. And then the other one is near and dear to my heart. That's called Women in Residential Construction. And that event is happening in Nashville from October 25th through the 27th. And it's women across the commercial and residential side of the building. So of the industry. So you might have like a home builder, you might have somebody as large as like Taylor Morrison Homes, and then you might have like a boutique remodeler, a woman who owns her own company, and then you might have somebody in the hospitality side of the business who is an architect designing large hotels. So it's really all different segments of the industry, and it's going to be a great event.
Is it like an educational event or?
It's educational, but there's so much energy in the room. Often with educational, it's easy to think of it as like I'm sitting in my seat and I'm patiently taking notes as somebody gives me information. This is like the doors are just blown off by the energy in that room. It is like people are just like cheering each other, and it's very motivational and educational at the same time. So we really kind of hit both. It's a leadership conference. It's women in leadership who are in this industry.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Oh, it's so much fun.
So I know you're a big promoter of women in construction. How have you seen that evolve over the time that you've been here? And what other things can we do to bring more women to the trades?
So it's really interesting. When I first started in 2014 in the remodeling field, I felt like there were some barriers to entry that was around, people being a little resistant to seeing women in the trades. And I think with the labor shortage, and I think with the times changing, that's just really gone at this point. Now I think it's more about an advocacy and outreach effort to get more women who have maybe never considered it as an option, to get them to see what a fantastic opportunity it is. I mean, really, the sky is the limit. If you want to become an electrician, for example, you can write your own ticket. And if you want to be a woman electrician, forget about it. You will be so successful and you will have so much autonomy. And I don't know that that message has really gotten through. I think a lot of folks are working on it, but it's a tough one.
No, I agree. I agree because it's still so male dominated in the
Yeah.
construction industry, and I think there's a little bit of hesitation about women jumping in and being like, first off, just automatically we're not all the time taken as seriously as men in the same position, whether that's in the legal field, actually in the field on the construction side. And I have you seen that improve at all in your years? Are we being taken more
Yeah.
seriously?
Dramatically improve. I've seen it. And I also feel that, it's kind of like this visibility thing. Like if you are doing outreach and you have a picture of a bunch of tradespeople on your ad or in your marketing materials, have one of them be a woman. If you have a woman project manager, have her go out and act as an ambassador to get other people to come in. I mean, the more visibility there is for women, it's just like people of color. Like if you turn on your TV and you see a bunch of Black doctors on a show, you start to think, oh, wow, it normalizes it. And I think that's what needs to happen. I think it needs to be normalized for people to really and truly embrace it.
Absolutely. That and commercial construction as well. I mean, of residential too, but and commercial. There's so many opportunities. You can run your own show, you can have your own business, and then let alone on the commercial side, you have the women-owned business, minorities, all the opportunities that are out there. It's just amazing.
It's just getting the word out because the opportunities exist.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So tell me one of your most memorable experiences while covering the construction industry.
So let's see. Should I talk about, would that include the pool industry?
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually a really sad experience, but I think it's a really a profound one. So there's this really rare thing that used to happen with swimming pools where that was called suction entrapment. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you had like a single, you have heard of it, like if you have like a
Mhm.
single drain in your pool and the pool is very shallow, it happened less in swimming pools and more in like a hot tub
Yeah.
situation where you would have like a shallow hot tub with one drain, and if something would happen where something would block that drain, say like somebody's sitting on the drain and their like butt cheek gets stuck on the drain,
Mhm.
it forms a vacuum. And because you have a pool pump forming that vacuum, it's extremely powerful. And that person cannot get off that drain. And if it happens while they're underwater, they would drown by being stuck to the drain.
Gotcha.
So, never before had there been any federal legislation affecting the pool industry. The pool industry had been very, very localized up until this time and very much controlled by states and by local municipalities. And really, really tragically, the granddaughter of former Secretary of State James Baker, her name was Virginia Graham Baker, she died in a suction entrapment accident in a hot tub at the age of 7. And for the first time, we saw national attention being paid to the pool industry, and we saw federal legislation pass around different types of drain covers and around having dual drains. You have to have 2 drains, and you have to have the covers designed in a certain way. And the Consumer Product Safety Division got involved, CPSC, and it was really a profound, like our reporting on it, we did a profile on Nancy Baker, who was the mother of Virginia Graham Baker, who passed. And it was very controversial at the time because the pool industry traditionally was kind of anti-legislation and pro-independence, and especially anti-federal legislation.
Mhm.
And really, Nancy Baker was like the advocate who was pushing this forward as a result of the death of her daughter. And it was a time when tempers ran very hot, and there was a lot of passion, and there was a lot of sadness. And the law was passed. The Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act was passed. And I'm really proud of the journalism that we did that sort of around that issue around that time.
That's amazing. And no telling how many lives that saved that now that's regulated.
Yeah, I believe that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've even heard of an incident that we had a family friend that the same thing happened to. And it's so sad.
Oh my gosh,
No.
did they pass away?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, it's
I mean,
terrible.
it's been years ago, but it's still, yeah.
It was probably before that act passed.
Before, yeah, because it was a single drain, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your hard work and helping get that passed.
Oh, well, thank you.
But okay, but talking about trends in residential construction, I know everybody's freaking out because everybody's talking recession and economy. What do you think residential construction looks like for the next year, or the new trends?
So that's a really interesting question. I think it's a time of enormous uncertainty. I think that these supply chain issues, which has plagued residential construction really during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, all signs say that that's going to be largely mitigated by the end of Q3, and by the end of Q4, we're really not going to have those same kind of supply chain issues. So that's a great piece of news. I'm hearing a lot of regional differences in terms of lead flow. I'm hearing some contractors are saying, my leads have really dried up and I'm having to really market much more effectively and efficiently and spend more money on marketing. And I'm hearing some other folks saying, no, my leads are still really strong. So there's a lot of these kinds of regional differences. I think at the end of the day, the people who are going to win, there was a lot of growth during the pandemic in the field. Everybody was stuck at home. Everybody realized how much they hated their kitchen and how much they wanted a new outdoor area where they could hang out with their family. And so that put a lot of growth into these companies. So a lot of folks grew in a relatively short period of time, grew very, very, very fast and just, way up. So they are having to put in systems and processes to accommodate that growth. And I think the winners in the future are going to be the ones that successfully systematize their business and put the right processes in place, and also are paying attention to their marketing now before they're getting hit with really soft leads, rather than like, oh crap, my leads have dried up. What am I going to do? So I think that's going to be the differentiating factor between businesses that sail through this and businesses that are struggling a bit.
So that brings up another good question. How important is an online presence to remodelers, both types?
Well, I mean, do you mean online presence? Do you mean just like a website, or do you mean reviews?
A website or
just
social, or both? All of the above.
So I think a website it's like a business card. I mean, it's just, you have to have a good website. I know of a remodeler who redesigned his website, and really smart. He really focused on the client journey. He focused on a lot of testimonials. He focused on a lot of FAQs. I think a website is important, but I think having a website with the right components is absolutely critical. I think that repeat referral business is going to continue to be the bread and butter for a lot of remodelers. But today, a lot of studies are showing that people trust a Google review as much, if not more, than they trust what their own friends and family tell them about a company, which is astonishing, but it's true.
Really?
I know, right? Like the person on Google is a stranger, but people really trust it.
That's amazing.
So getting those reviews, getting them in the right place, getting a system. I spoke earlier about systems, getting a system in place to get the review. Who's going to ask for it? When are they going to ask? How are they going to ask? Are you going to bonus people for getting good reviews? Are you going to bonus all the players for getting those 5-star reviews? Having all those review systems in place, I think, is enormously helpful in having the right online presence and in combating a potential recession.
Yeah. And you're, like you said, processes before you need it. Like this is how we get reviews. And once we get it, it gets uploaded to our website and shared on social. And those are all things that you can do. And I know these guys are busy right now. I talk to them for all over the country, and, they're busy. They've been hugely busy. And there's still guys jumping into the industry. A lot of the guys that I talk to, businesses started in the last 3 years, which is, some of them started in 20, some of them started right after, kind of a crazy thing. But as these guys are still entering the new businesses, what advice can you give a new entrepreneur in the industry? What things should they start with?
So I think the industry is quickly becoming professionalized in a way that it wasn't in the past. I think that the days of all you need is like, a pickup truck and a business card are kind of coming to be in the past. And so if someone was starting out, I would say, really think about your tech stack. Maybe you don't have the pieces of technology that are super expensive and super shiny right out the gate, but really look toward how you're going to build out your tech stack, because not only is it expected from the homeowner that you have some kind of project management software or some kind of billing software, it's also not only does it legitimize you in the homeowner, it also helps your growth. It helps you be able to grow much more quickly and much more in a much more organized way. Another thing I'd think about is, even if you don't have any employees, start looking at leadership and workplace culture, books, podcasts, reading, magazine articles about that, because another winner in this war is going to be the people that set up the right workplace culture. They are going to win the talent war, because people will come for the pay, but they'll stay for the culture. There's no question. And they will also leave if they don't like the culture.
No, absolutely. I've talked, especially in the construction industry, the labor shortage in residential construction, especially. So do you have any ideas or some tactical steps they could take on the leadership things? What should they focus on first? Like if they get their first employee, what do you think is most important?
So I would think making sure that you and however many employees you have are aligned around company purpose and company direction. which kind of comes down to a mission and a vision. So you have to know why you're there, and you have to know where you want to go in, say, 5 years. And if you don't have everybody kind of on board with that, it's going to be really hard to set up that culture. It's kind of like the foundation of your company culture. So that would be my advice. And if you are brand new and you're just starting out, get your employees involved in the creation of that mission and vision. Talk to them a little bit about what's important to them. I mean, what do they want to see the company do in the community? What kind of brand do they believe in? So that would be my advice.
For me, this is a relatively new idea. Mission, and don't get me wrong, I think companies have always done it, but I think it's now more important to have a mission and value for your company. Have you seen the same thing? Is this a recent thing? Like, it's now more important than ever?
So I think that in the past, people had like a mission and a vision, and they'd throw it up on their website. It was kind of like this branding thing. They'd be on the side of their truck, but it wasn't driven down deep into the organization. It was more of like a marketing piece. Mm-hmm. And I think now, as part of creating that culture, because the labor shortage is so severe and people are doing everything they can to retain the talent that they have, it's becoming critical that your team understands and buys into in a really deep way what they're doing there and what they want to be doing in the future for the company.
I agree. And I think in all fields, my field, the same, is that when there are more people more people than jobs, and people need to hang on to their jobs, I think it hides a lot of flaws in leadership. Right. And then when you now can come to work and be like, okay, the money's great, but I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what the processes are. And they just go down the street for another job.
And so I think 100%.
It now becomes very more important to dive into becoming a better leader. And one of the things I fell down on was not, I got a mission and value, but clarity. Like, what does your job entail? What do I expect? As a business owner, I'm just like, I'm here to do this. And I thought everybody would know that. So I know that you talked a little bit about processes. What are like the most important process, or what is the most important thing to tell an employee about processes when they're starting?
So I think if I were going to tell a new team member about processes, I would say where you need processes is if you think about your sales cycle from the moment you get a lead until the moment you do the final walkthrough, and you go through every single thing that happens. The prospect sees your website. They fill out a web form. What happens to that lead? How does that lead get assigned to a salesperson? What does that salesperson do? What kind of paperwork or online, what online platform are you using? If you do that all the way through to the final walkthrough, there's going to be pain points in that process. There's going to be spots where it's broken. And those are the spots where you need a more robust system to address it. A lot of the time, it's where something leaves one department and goes to the next department. So it leaves marketing and it goes to sales. It leaves sales and it goes to production, or it goes to design, depending on what kind of company you are. It leaves design, it goes to production. That blurry spot between departments is often where companies kind of fall out of alignment and run into trouble. And so if I had a new person coming in, I would say, please, you're a new set of eyes. Look at what we do. Look at how it feels. Is there something that's confusing to you? Is there something where you don't know who you're supposed to go to ask a question? Is there a process that you think doesn't make sense or needs improvement? All of us are smarter than one of us, right? I guess that would be the message that I would give.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great advice. And then in that situation, how important is it for everybody to know what the other departments do? Like an overview of, especially at that handing off point.
I think it's really important. And I think I think that the leadership team should meet. And I don't know that you need it all the way down to the people who are the more entry level people don't need to meet every week with their counterparts in another department. but certainly the leaders of each department should be meeting frequently. Frequently. I know companies that do it every day, and getting together and talking about what they're working on, what kind of pain points they're seeing, just like a quick check-in.
Yeah.
And I think that can really help kind of keep everybody on the same page in terms of what information is needed.
No, I agree. And it really helps the customer experience, that it evens out, that they see those pain points sooner, especially if you have, because everybody tries to departmentalize, but then you have to have those department talk to know what's going on.
You do. You
and
really
try to
do.
fix the issues. I know you've been in the industry a while. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about the residential construction industry, either from the contractor side or the homeowner side?
So what I've seen happen in this industry over the past few years is so cool. I've seen a group of remodelers, many of them younger, but not all of them, come in and just add so much sophistication and so much technological savvy to the industry that no longer is it this like backwards industry that everybody used to see it as, like, oh, the guy would show up and he would be late and he would work out his estimate on the back of some like greasy piece of paper that he pulled out of his truck. That's gone. If you're that guy, you need to be in a different industry, because remodeling is smart and fast and tech driven and hungry and professional. That's what I see happening.
That's pretty amazing.
It's great.
It's a great thing to see that, now they have contracts and they have a project management software that just makes everything streamlined. And like you said, if you don't have that, you're not keeping up with the competition.
No, not at all.
So what's next for you? What are some of your long-term goals? What do you hope to see for the industry? Tell me some things like that.
I hope to see this wave of professionalism continue. I think on the replacement contracting side, there's a lot of big private equity money coming into the industry, buying up some of these bigger companies. And I think that is bringing more capital into the industry. It's making it a little tougher for the smaller ones to compete. But you know what? They're going to just have to be better and smarter and faster, and they're going to figure it out. And I see that trend continuing in the industry. And as for me personally,
like a big painting manufacturer, whatever, hiring subcontractors, or because I've kind of heard.
No, it would be more like what I'm seeing is more like, say, a window replacement company, and say they're in 6 markets, and say they're doing, I don't know, say $20 million in revenue. Well, all of a sudden, here comes a private equity company, and they've got a few of these companies that they own already, and they want to get into that market, that area of the country geographically where this company is. They buy that company and they pump a lot more money into different types of investments in technology, investments in greenfielding new markets, investments in people, getting that bench strength up, getting that management team ready. And that's, I think, making the industry more efficient in a lot of ways.
Gotcha. And especially for the small guys having to, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to understand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And the small guys having to now compete with a large private equity firm who's come into their space, they're having to think, how do I compete against that? Do I want to compete reminding everybody that I'm a family owned company and that I'm part of this community? I'm the money is not going to flow into a large corporation. Is that how I want to message? Do I want to compete by investing more in technology so that I can have some of those CRM systems and some of those project management systems that my competitor now has? So a rising tide floats all boats. I really believe that. I believe the whole industry will benefit from this.
Gotcha. Well, good. Awesome. So if somebody wanted to find Pro Remodeler and more about your information on your content and everything, where would they go?
They would go to proremodeler.com, and we have a whole wealth of information about the events that we have coming up and other types of products that we have available. It's a fantastic industry. It's a great time to be a remodeler. And I really have been very honored to work on this brand and meet the people that I've met. So smart and so interesting.
I know it's a very exciting time to see this industry really kind of grow into the tech industry and women being involved and women and minorities. It's kind of amazing time. women have always been involved in construction, but usually in the office and making sure everything runs smooth there. But now, they're actually boots on the ground. It's a great thing to see.
Agreed.
Is there anything you wanted to add that I missed about Pro Remodeler or about the construction industry in general?
I don't think so. I think we pretty well covered it.
Okay, good deal. Awesome. Well, we'll put all your contact information in the show notes. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and be on the show. Thank you, Miss Erika.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Really, really nice to see you.
You too. I got to hit stop recording.